Succession isn't an overly feminist show, but it is quietly one of the most insightful dissections of how women internalize and reproduce patriarchy. Let's take a look. Shiv Roy is not a feminist icon, and no one expects her to be. She's the product of a system that trained her to cosplay power because real power is not meant for her. In Succession, Shiv moves like a woman that is trying to outrun her own invisibility. She's surrounded by men who mistake cruelty for competence, and she despises them. But at the same time, she's trying to be like them, not because she believes in their superiority, but because it's the only language these men understand. Underneath all the sharp tailoring and the cold confidence is a little girl who wants her parents to pick her. But here's the kicker. We think it's Logan, her dad, that is playing puppet master, and I think we're wrong there. The worst parent on the show might not be Logan, but her mom. What if the writers of Succession used the obvious power struggle between Logan and the kids to show us that the worst parents are not the ones that stick around and pit us against each other, but the ones that compete with us? I think that Shiv is trying to get her dad's attention, but it's not because his attention matters more, it's because that is all she's left with. Because her mom already decided she's not worth picking. Shiv Roy is what happens when a woman grows up believing that she has to win a game that was never designed for her. She acts like she wants to dismantle the patriarchy, but really she's just adapting to it. And Kendall calls her out on it. Shiv Roy is the perfect example of the 2010s girl boss feminism and why it didn't work, but really it's not feminism at all. You could go as far as to say that this is the Trojan horse designed by the patriarchy to destroy feminism or the feminist cause by its own agents. Think about it. Shiv copies her father's ruthlessness, her brother's arrogance, and her husband's transactional affection. And for what? Only for her strongest, most admirable moments in the show to be the ones where, for a split second, she acts emotionally. In the Roy family, emotion is weakness and love is leverage. She tries to fit in, but she sticks out like a sore thumb. Why? Because she believes that it's the only way to survive in a world where empathy gets you eaten alive. Shiv's lack of trust in Kendall and Roman is not about indifference. It's fear. Fear that they'll betray her, or more importantly, that they will betray her first. But even when they all betray each other all the time, all they have is each other. And that is the problem. If there was a missing piece, it would be loyalty. And what makes all of them, including Shiv, stuck in this cycle of abuse is the constant turning on each other. Half the time, they're turning on each other for no reason at all. It's out of habit. In contrast, we see Tom and Greg, who are not siblings, they're just friends, and they figure out that yes, we're both capable of betraying people, and while that might be helpful in certain circumstances, it's no way to live. This is why Tom and Greg add this uncanny, unexpected, yet very welcome wholesomeness to the show, because it shows you that you don't have to be Mother Teresa to inspire love and loyalty. She thinks very little of everyone to the point where it doesn't even feel like superiority anymore. It's a very weak kind of self-defense. It's all very ironic because she's not wrong. Tom, Kendall, Roman, Logan, they would betray her. Not because they hate her, but because they've been taught that survival means stepping on people. What they could have been taught instead was that you wouldn't be surviving all the time if you could just have a little faith. And it's interesting because this is what patriarchy is. It's a flawed system. Let's talk about Shiv's relationship with Tom. I think it's fascinating. It's not built on love, but on control. Tom loves her way more than she loves him, and she's aware of that. She thinks that caring too much, needing too much, makes her weak. And isn't it interesting that the person she felt most in control of was the one that she should have been more concerned about? I blame her mother, I really do. The only time we see any overwhelming emotion is when she is having a conversation with her mom, and honestly, I thought she was the worst person on the show. She broke Shiv. And you could argue, what about the blatant physical abuse that Logan is putting Roman through? And you're right, Logan is terrible. No excuses will be made for Logan. But why is Logan able to traumatize these kids is the real question. Because they have virtually no relationship with their mother. Children who grow up in an abusive household don't have one abusive parent. What they have is one parent that is out of control, and the one parent that does nothing to stop it is actually the abusive one. And I think Caroline is that parent. Caroline doesn't think that her kids are worth fighting for. Men who grow up with women like that never see women as a safe place, and they think that power, when it resides with someone like that, creates a dangerous situation. So of course they don't think women should lead. They know what women in leadership look like. They look like their mom, who did not fight for them. Women who grow up with mothers like this see cruelty in men, but settle for it. Why? Because it's nowhere near as bad as the cruelty of the women that they've known. And that right there is what I believe is wrong with feminism. It's not that men will betray women. Of course they will. That is nothing new. The problem is the ongoing betrayal that women face at the hands of other women. Shiv's entire identity revolves around being chosen by her father. But the truth is, it's her mother's rejection that made her obsessed with Logan. Caroline decided early on that Shiv picked Logan. So what does she do? She withdraws. And that left Shiv chasing the parent who was least capable of loving her back. Because winning his approval would prove a point that she was worth loving, and really Caroline was wrong about everything, because if Logan could love her for once, then all of this pain would have been for something. Shiv does not care about the company. In fact, I don't think any of the siblings do. What they want is a parent, any parent, to say that they were worth something. Succession isn't a feminist show in the traditional sense. There are no speeches about equality, no triumphant moment of sisterhood, but it's devastatingly feminist in how it dissects the quiet damage women do to each other. Not because of men, but because of what women teach their sons and daughters about what life under a woman's rule looks like. Shiv's story isn't about a woman oppressed by patriarchy. It's about a woman shaped by her mother's rejection, who then goes on to finds complacency in patriarchy. Because however bad it is, it's not worse than what her mom said to her. Her disloyalty, her mistrust, her inability to love safely, they're not flaws of character. They're symptoms of survival in a world where every woman learns, one way or another, that a woman is not going to come to their rescue. So what do? You make do with the incompetent and abusive men around you. Shiv learns that she has to be one of the men because she does not feel safe around women. And how does that translate into real life? She does not care about the safety of other women. In in trying to be one of the men, Shiv becomes exactly what she's running from. I wouldn't say that she's a mirror of her father, because she's a woman who mistakes power for freedom. And that is not the case with Logan. Even in his abusive fits of rage, he was somehow honest with her. You know that scene where he asks her to get some more training because she's a woman, and Shiv replies, "Oh, because I'm a woman, that's a minus." And he gets mad and says, "Of course it's a minus. I didn't make the world." He's not wrong. Believe it or not, Logan may have uttered the only feminist line in the entire show, which is first and foremost admitting the game is rigged. And on your own as a woman, you can't do much about it. Shiv Roy is, we can't say that she's a feminist failure, but we can say that she's a feminist tragedy. Not because she couldn't win. I think she could absolutely win. But because she never realized that pretending to be a man was not going to work for her. You know why? Because it doesn't even work for men. Look at Roman, look at Kendall. They have the advantage of being men, and they're proof that that alone is not enough. I think Succession, intentionally or unintentionally, may have cracked the code on why feminism doesn't seem to be working the way we expect, or at least why patriarchy is the way it is. And it's not men betraying women, it's women inheriting the betrayal of other women.